It was awful from the beginning. We couldn't even act like we were glad to see them. I mean, they knew they were going to fire us before we even submitted the audit.
Could be much worse than that.
Come on, guys. It's normal to raise these kinds of issues with the audit committee, especially if they haven't already been approached to management. They should be thankful.
No, I saw their faces. They expected us to just brush over it.
Oh yeah, brush over revenue recognition, pension plans, and asset valuation that could be potentially fraudulent?
That's got nothing to do with an independent audit committee.
They're right. They already knew. What did you mean worse? What could they do?
Well, there's only so many reasons such a large corporation hires a fresh-faced and incredibly small audit firm to replace someone like KPMG.
So what, it's not easier to pay off the big guys? KPMG already has a lawsuit on their hands for exactly this issue.
We are supposed to be easy to push around.
Everybody just calm down. That legal issue and the change in management is the reason they're trying to switch accounting firms. They're trying to distance themselves from KPMG.
Or find a scapegoat.
That's ridiculous. As auditors, we're not actually responsible for what gets put into the financial statements.
Exactly. And guess who doesn't want to be held responsible?
Oh damn, and you said worse. What's worse?
You are really not helping.
We did say something positive, right?
So the very beginning of this process, as we have already outlined for you, we did some preliminary analytical procedures. And what these procedures do is they give us a high-level assurance or tell us where we need to delve deeper. And we can figure this out by comparing previous years and the competitors to the current numbers. In some cases, like receivable turnover, the figures remain relatively constant and do not differ largely from your main competitor 3M. You can see that here. Other areas, like pretty much anything that includes income, fluctuate wildly. We've outlined these in red for you. And they're vastly different from your competitors. To be more efficient and cost effective, we're going to focus on these areas, or we have focused on these areas during our audit. And some of it we have decided is really good. Others we still have issues that we brought forth to management, and we will continue to discuss as this presentation moves forward. As I said, we focused a lot on the ratios in the areas that included net income. And these areas specifically are of concern because there's a lot of inherent risk here. When a company is not doing well, there's incentives there for management to possibly recognize revenue early, which may or may not be happening. We'll get to that. Reevaluate assets or misuse equity. These are areas where we really want to focus specifically on the controls. We want to figure out and make sure that things like management override just don't run the company.
A significant decrease in GE's return on assets and return on equity signifies that you as a company are not capitalizing on your assets properly. This could be for any number of reasons: financial manipulation, managerial influence, or bad business practices, to name a few. The significant decrease in your profit margin that is clearly not where any reasonable company would want it to be sends us a big red flag. Last year was positive, however small, and all of a sudden a new manager takes over and all hell breaks loose? We don't think so. When you compare these numbers to your industry's leading competitor, not only are some of your numbers significantly lower, some of these numbers are heading in the wrong direction as well.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, it's cool. I made sure to know all of the exits. I know all the possible paths to the exits. All we have to do is quietly go out this door and then call our lawyers.
Yeah,
We can still walk away from this, but I don't think there's any reason to make a secret exit.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go now.
Or we could stay, figure this thing out, talk about it a little more.
I don't think that's a smart idea.
Come on, guys. Think about how much there's still left to do. It'd be too costly to try to start a new audit this late in the game.
It's not going to cost that much more if the new audit isn't fully performed.
There are a few items that require our attention before we can complete the audit for GE. Since there was new management appointed in 2017, we need to finish up our analysis of the internal control deficiencies and account balance assessments. Since there was new management, we need to confirm that there weren't any major changes in internal controls or account balance valuation. Otherwise, we will need to perform further tests. Once that's complete, we can finish up the 10K and issue the formal audit report. As a part of our audit, one of the steps we took was communicating with GE's prior audit team. KPMG was GE's auditor for over 109 years. Since they have been the sole financial statement auditor for GE, their previous audit reports were not heavily consulted. During our communications, we discussed the ongoing investigation of potential negligence in KPMG's audits and the resulting audit risk of GE's prior and current financial statements. The length of the relationship between GE and KPMG raises many concerns towards their independence, and the investigation regarding their potential negligence leads us to believe that they may be acting unethically. After consulting with KPMG, we found a high risk of potential fraud and collusion. We suggest severing ties with KPMG immediately.
We also discussed multiple similar issues with management throughout the audit process. We spoke with them about the acquisitions of LM Wind Power and ServiceMax. The process of goodwill recognition was tested and approved, and consolidating the financial statements were also reviewed. But some asset valuation methods are still under question and potentially fraudulent. The finalization of acquisition account balances has yet to be completed. Along with these issues in asset valuation are issues with inventory valuation. GE recently switched from FIFO to LIFO, which resulted in an increase in inventory valuation by $516 million. We were initially worried about this increase, but after discussing with management, we found that the purpose behind the switch was acceptable under the assumption that management includes a disclosure further describing the nature and reason behind the reevaluation of inventory under the inventory note calculation. The calculations reported as well as a physical inventory count were reperformed and confirmed. As mentioned previously, the restructuring of new management was a concern of ours from the beginning. New business processes were implemented and caused potential significant risk with new or adapted controls in areas of concern such as management override. After speaking with management, we found low risk with controls in this area. We discussed with management potential issues with long-term service agreements and the revenue recognition regarding fraudulent recognition of revenues before service was actually performed in long-term service agreements. This issue is currently being investigated by the SEC, and the finalization of our analysis is awaiting further communications with the SEC. We would like to make you aware of the areas of emphasis we felt the need to concentrate on during the audit. I'm sure you've been able to gather a few of these areas already. As previously mentioned, inventory and asset valuation regarding changes from FIFO to LIFO and related to significant acquisitions immediately stood out to us. Likewise, the revenue recognition regarding long-term service agreements put up red flags in our preliminary phases, especially since there is an ongoing investigation regarding this issue. The recent change in management and the relocation of the headquarters were also of interest to us. We wanted to make sure proper controls are in place and that the restructuring of management is allowing for checks and balances and common ethical practices to take place. We also wanted to make sure of the tax implications regarding the relocation and ensure the tax implications were being responded to properly by management. Due to multiple lawsuits GE is currently involved in, an area of emphasis throughout the audit of the financial statements was proper disclosures of such information. These areas drove a lot of the detailed testing we completed and are still driving the final testing we believe remains unfinished as of now.
That's it. Getting out of here right now.